Let's see. There we go. Hey friends, it's Melanie live from Lazy Dirt Flower Farm. Let's see if we can fix this a little bit. I'm a little early, which is a good thing. As you know, I am in my playroom, sowing seeds, sipping coffee, and getting ready for the live that will be at, in about 10 minutes. So let's see if we can get this a little bit better angled here. There we go. Now you can see the plants. There, that's much better. There we go. I have you on a makeshift box because, like I said, I'm in the playroom. So while we wait for everyone, I will be potting up some plants, and I think we need some music. I had music on before I started fooling around with seed sowing. There we go. There we go. So I'm just going to, plant on while we're waiting. Okay. So I have my soil box ready and my coffee. It's my new favorite mug. It says spill the tea with little chickens because I have chickens. And we're just going to jump right in. My swill. It's important to remember with these lives, I'm just starting out with these lives and recording things as they happen on the farm and getting over a little bit of shyness with being on camera. Believe it or not, if you've met me, you probably will be shocked when I tell you that I am a shy person. I am. And that's one of the reasons why I don't get dressed up for doing lives or anything, sharing things on the farm, because it's important for me to be as I am. I don't want to have to ever dress up and put on a party dress for planting out. I'm sure you don't either in your garden. You wear your comfy clothes that you can get filthy. Play clothes. So you see behind me, I have my one of 3 germination racks. Hello, how are you? We have someone here. I am seed sowing. I got on a little early. And I am, there we go. So I'm not just with my arms. I'm playing in the dirt inside. I'm making a real mess of it, apparently. So I am actually, I've done some soil blocks for sweet peas. Hello, friends. I am here early for a change. So I want to make sure that everything goes well this week, because last week was just, it was a rough week. But it's passed. So that's a good thing. So if you have any questions, you can type them in the chat. I've started getting used to doing Zoom chats and I really like a Zoom chat, but I haven't quite figured out how to do that live yet. I don't know if you can even do that with a Zoom. So if you want to say hi, just put it in the chat box, and if you have any questions, you can ask me there. Still 4 minutes away. I'm early for a change. That is like a miracle. I'm usually always very late. Always very, very late. Sometimes, most times even for my own parties, because I always think I have more time. I'm told that that's a sign of that you're an optimist, because you always think you have more time. So I do have somewhere here a little cheat sheet to keep me focused on time. Time, yes, time is the great measurement. I think not. I think fun and laughter is the great measurement. So for some reason, I'm not seeing participants in the live. I can see that you're there. So be sure to enter the chat. And then, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a little quick howdy, friends. There we go. That'll get the ball rolling. So what I'm doing today is I am catching up, playing an epic game of catch up. Hi, Ruth. How are you? Oh, my goodness. We do have to have a Zoom chat soon because you have big plans this year. Ruth is an amazing habitat gardener who relocated here from Massachusetts. We should have you come and do a talk, Ruth. We really should. She's a font of knowledge. So I see it's now noon. Oh, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. So we'll just kind of bumble my way through while we wait. I know there's a couple other people who are coming to watch it live. They actually texted me and said, I'll be there at noon. I just got to get my teacup. So if you have to get a teacup before I start this live, a cup of tea, now's a good time. And I will just stir. I get really nervous for some reason with these videos. We'll see how this week's live goes. So friends, this week has been a much better week. No well pump, no sump pump has broken. The basement is not flooded. Everyone is fine. My knee brace is actually is really working, so I actually went for a walk. Oh, for the first time in months. A real walk. I walked down to the cow pasture, which is east of the farm, and went down and saw the cows. That's my goal. Make it down to see the cows. There's this beautiful herd of Angus cattle down there, and I love to see them in the morning. So I usually try to walk down there once a week. More so in the summer. I walk down a little bit more, a couple more times during the week. But in the winter, normally once a week. But this winter with the snow, I just didn't. Oh, and I'll tell you, the layers of warmth that have been put on this body from not being able to get out and exercise outside. I don't like to go to the gym. Sorry. This is not my cup of tea. I like to be outside. It's been really hard. So we'll see how gardening and seed sowing and planting out that 2,000-foot field will help get some of this weight off. Because I need to feel healthy, and I can feel the difference. So we'll get out there and get some activity. So this is I get a lot of questions about soil for seed starting. And this is what I'm doing, if you're wondering. I am actually mixing my soil to prepare for some wool pots. And let's see what time it is. It is 12 noon exactly. So let's jump in. We're going to jump in. I see a couple more people coming, one more person. So I'm going to wait. We're not going to wait for her. She will be here, and we will see her soon. Anyway, so let's jump in. I have gotten this past week, when I sent out my newsletter on Thursdays is when I send out the newsletter. And I put in there, if you have questions, you can send me them and I will answer them live on YouTube. And I also sent an email, of course, to the people who asked questions in case they couldn't make it. If you had questions, I'll try to answer them on Saturday on the live. And this week, people just sent me all these wonderful questions. I have like 6 questions, all about the same thing. So I know that as gardeners, we are really getting into seed sowing now. We're like here in central New York, we're in zone 5 here at the farm. We're right 4 miles east of Lake Ontario. So our climate here is a little different than, say, if you were in Brewerton because of Lake Ontario. So we're a little colder, and our fall and our spring, our early spring, seems to start a little later. And that's okay. That's our climate that we're in. So, but everyone seems to be doing the same thing. We're all kind of deep into our seed sowing if we choose to seed sow. It's a great idea because, one, you save money, you learn a lot more about your plants that you grow in your garden, and it's a nice way to kind of, like right now with today, it's, you can see out through the window, it's gray, dreary. It can be kind of dreary. It's beautiful in its own way, right? But it can get a little dreary for some of us. And so playing in the dirt inside is a great way to kind of bust out of that gray, cloudy weather. And so seed sowing is a wonderful thing. And so these questions I got were so great. The first one is about soil blocking. I get this a lot. Now, these are 1.5 inch soil blocks. You see, they have, I have a party going on in here. Oh, that's a great question, Ruth. So Ruth is asking if any seedlings sprout for her. Should I expect to let them stay in pots until next spring or what? So no, my seedlings, when I grow, well, I don't grow in plastic pots anymore. So I don't know if you mean wool pots. If you mean wool pots, Ruth, be sure to let me know. For my seedlings, I grow them in the soil blocks. If I were to put this into a plastic pot, I would wait until I just see the white roots coming out the bottom or on the sides. Oh, not the wool pots. Okay, so it's like a regular plastic pot or a terracotta pot you're putting them in. So what I would do is I would wait until you can have them growing in a pot over the summer. Now, I do that a lot. I make container gardens with my seedlings, especially if they're a little on the needy side. And I'll fill the pot with like 3 or 4 different native plants, and then I'll put them out in the fall. So they spend the summer in the pot getting TLC, and then I'll put them in the ground in the fall. However, the majority of my plants, my seedlings, my native seedlings, I wait until, so if I had them in a small pot, like say if I don't have any anymore, I got rid of all my plastic pots. If I had them, let's see if I have a pot. I don't, they're all gone. If I had them, say, in a quart pot, and I put the seedling in the quart pot to grow out when it's really, really tiny, once I see the roots coming out the bottom, those little white feeder roots, you could call them feeder roots. Once I see those, then I would put it out into the garden. I wouldn't keep them in pots all summer. I want them to, they need to, in my opinion and my experience, they do much better in their native soil. They grow stronger, healthier, and then they seem to, I don't have the science to back this up, only my own experience. Those plants that I put out into the garden as young plants, first year, so they have not been overwintered, those I call a rookie plant. So a rookie plant is any plant that you started from seed, no matter how you start it, wool pot, soil block, or a pot, plastic pot. Those are rookie plants until they've gone through one winter cycle, if they're a perennial, like say purple coneflowers. Once then they're like, they have really strong root systems. So a rookie I want to get that rookie into the ground as soon as I can, because that rookie is going to take advantage of the microorganisms and the life in the soil. It's going to be able to really spread its roots. It's going to be acclimated to cold, heat, sunlight cycles, and it's going to go into its own natural dormancy in fall. My experience has been when I do that, those plants that get planted, say, if I have a seedling now, let's see, do I have anybody? I do. Okay. We use these guys. Okay. So these are little babies. Aren't they cute? So these are little babies in their soil block. So we'll call these a seedling. Once these get bigger, and if I were to bump them up into a pot, you know how you do. You bump them up into pot, bigger pots, bigger pots. When they get to that quart pot and they're bigger and they're ready to go out, if I put these out, their roots, they're just going to take off and they're going to be much healthier plants. So I never recommend keeping a plant in a pot or a container all summer, because, I mean, it's up to you, but the roots just seem to do better, and they're able, because we get so much snow here. My experience has been that they have much stronger roots and they're much healthier and happier plants. And I get more time to do other things besides agonizing over whether or not the little plant is getting the nutrients it needs, right? So that's my advice on that, Ruth. I hope that made sense. I get very excited to talk about plants. I think that they should be free to grow however they need to grow. But I do put them in containers for container gardens. And many native plants, they don't mind that for their first year. But then they have to go out and go earn a living, so to speak. The soil blocks, on the other hand, these are soil blocks. These are the big 1-inchers. Let's see. I just made these, so if it falls apart, well, I'll have a good laugh. So this is a soil block. See the little divot in there? You put the seed in there, and then the roots come out, and it creates, this was one of the questions about soil blocks, is why are they better? Well, the plant gets air, and as the roots form on these, so I'm going to use these for sweet peas, for example, they're going to form, the roots are going to fill the block, and once they hit the air, they're going to air prune, and they're going to create lateral roots, and it's so much better. You're going to get a stronger plant. The other part is that, well, there's no plastic, so they're not hitting the wall, literally, the roots. They're just going to keep growing and fill the soil block. Then when you put them out, they just hit the ground, literally running. There's very little transplant shock for them, and they also get watered from the bottom. So when I water this, I'm not going to do it because it'll go all over the place. When I water this, I'm going to water from the side, and the water and the fertilizer is going to go right into these little trenches, and the plants are going to take what they need. So that was one of the questions I got, was about soil blocks. Other question I got was about, oh, here's another one. Hold on. Hi, Brenda. How are you? You couldn't, oh, you tried soil blocking last weekend, but couldn't make the blocks as the soil didn't seem right, too dry. I wet it more, maybe not enough. Basically, I used the holes I made to put, oh, okay. So soil blocks. So this is this soil. Let's see if I can show you. I'm going to end up wearing this whole this pan of soil. I know it. This soil, if you can see that, see there's water coming out. See how it holds together? That's how you want it for your soil blocks. You want this to be just like brownie mix. You want it not too wet because the soil blocks will fall apart. You don't want it too dry because your soil blocks will fall apart. If you can go like this, just take a clump. If you can go like this with your soil block, then it's perfect. So I'm going to show you real quick what this looks like. So this is a 1.5 inch soil block. I'm just going to push it in there. And there's lots of videos on soil blocking, so I haven't made one yet. I do want to do a workshop where we can all try it because it's kind of crazy. So there, I have my soil in here. Just scrape some off. And then I take my tray. Now in the soil, I should digress. My soil is actually Coco Loco. It is peat free. There's no peat in it whatsoever. It has all the fertilizers it needs. It's basically compost with perlite. But I use Coco Loco in the winter because I can't get to my compost pile. And it has green sand. Now it has green sand is kind of algae sand with algae in it. It's literally green sand. And all I do is I sprinkle a pinch into the dry soil and then I mix it. And then after that, then I wet it. Not wet enough. Yes, try some more, and I'm going to show you what they should look like, Brenda, when you push them down. So there's my soil block. Ready? So when you push this down, we'll see if this works. I'm going to wear this soil. I know it. Oh, so funny. So when I push this down, there should be, my wrist isn't strong enough. Let's see, let me step back. Okay. There should be, it shouldn't be easy to separate that. You should have to really push down on that. And voila, little dirt brownies. They should be damp to the touch. They should hold their sharp edges. And if, when you do your soil blocks, if they don't come out quite right, dump them back in there. You're not going to hurt anybody. Dump them in there and mix your soil until you get it right. It takes some practice to get to know where, how they are. And it's quite easy once you get it, but you have to practice till you learn, oh, okay, this is too wet. And then you can even measure the water once you figure out, how much it goes. Now, the other question I got is about the difference between a wool pot and a soil block. The difference between a wool pot and a soil block, swaths of bare soil and cut it. Oh, I'm not sure what you mean by that, Ruth. You'll have to let me know. Call me this week. I should be available on Tuesday through Friday. Anytime in the morning's great. Call me, Ruth, and we'll chat and you can tell me about these swaths. The difference between a soil pot and a wool pot, other than the wool pot being really cute, is that the wool pot has, when this biodegrades, it's going to turn into fertilizer for your plants. It also is larger. So this will actually spread. I'll show you. I'm going to put, my hands are very filthy, so I'll do it the way I do it when I'm not on camera. So you just fill your wool pot. You can put these in a cup to kind of hold it there. I'm literally putting it in the dish pan. Okay. Don't have to get fancy. Save fancy for a party. Or, if somebody wonderful, Brad Pitt stops by for a cup of coffee. And then even then, I don't think he'd want you to get very fancy. Anyway, so now my wool pot's full. Look at the size of this thing. I'll probably get a little bit more in there too. It can reach the size of a quart pot, actually, if you really spread it in there. Try not to pack the soil down into a wool pot. So I'll show you the size difference. See? Size difference. Huge. You can soil block and then bump up into a wool pot if you want to. But usually I just put everybody on there. So this was one of the questions that I got this week. And it's a very important one that I want to make sure to answer. And let's see if I can find some seeds. Let's see. Where did I put those? Aha, here they go. Okay. So these are some showy trefoil seeds that I harvested last fall. Last summer, actually, I think it was August. They're very tiny. So I'm going to these are they need darkness. That's important. So remember that, everybody. They need darkness. So I'm going to take a pinch of those. I'm going to sprinkle them on the top very lightly, just a couple. Just a couple. Now, I'm not going to cover these. I'm going to cover them. And this is why for years I couldn't grow anything. I really thought I couldn't grow anything until I learned this trick. Just a light sprinkle. Barely, just the thickness, the width of the seed is what you want to do. The width of the seed. So you can still kind of see the seeds, and tap them gently so they get good soil contact. Now after I have a tray full of these, and I do this with the soil blocks, if you're using cell packs, whatever you are seed sowing in, you can do this. If a seed needs darkness, this is the question I'm getting all the time. And it's a very, very important one that I have to answer before we do our raffle because she's watching. So this is my secret weapon. I know, it looks funny. Why I didn't prime the pump before the video, I don't know. You don't need this so much for your soil blocks because you're going to cover them with the burlap. But so if I were to sow into the soil blocks here, I would take this. Let's see if this will work. And I'm going to gently mist just the top. That's if they were covered. These had seeds in them. They don't. But this does. So if I had the whole tray full of wool pots, I would very gently mist the top. Mist, mist, mist. And until this is important, until these seeds germinate, I'm going to come along every day and make sure that the top here is misted, the whole tray, until they germinate. Once the seeds germinate, either in your 6-pack, those little plastic trays, your pea pots, I don't care what you're using. Once your seeds germinate, you're going to water from the bottom, not the top. And that way you're not going to get dampening off. Your plants are going to root down, and they are going to be super. Oh, this, what is the mister? The mister, this is just a little pressure sprayer I got at the Dollar General because I do so many seeds. For me to use, what I was using was this. I was using glass, little spray mister, and then my hands cramped. And then I was like, okay, I've got 100 trays of plants, of seeds to mist. It ain't happening. No one got time for that. So a friend gave me this as a present, and it is a wonderful thing. I use it all the time. All the time. Hi, how are you, Chantal? So nice to see you. So I got this at the Dollar General in Mexico. It was $1.50. And for this, because now I have 3. I have 1 for out here, just for seed sowing, because I put a little bit of fertilizer, organic fertilizer in it. I have 1 out on the front porch for my house plants, and then 1 out in the barn because sometimes I have baby plants out there too. So jumping away back to the seedlings or seeds. So once these germinate, you're going to water from the bottom. But until they germinate, I'm going to mist them every single day on the top. And when they're over there on the grow rack, guess what's going to happen? You noticed I did not put hardly any more soil on the top of this, right? That's because I have a secret weapon. The secret weapon is, of course, burlap. Burlap and duct tape. I swear to God, burlap and duct tape hold the universe together. I'm going to cover the whole tray with burlap. No plastic domes. No plastic wrap. Who wants to mess with plastic wrap? I don't know. Not me. Burlap. Over the top. Check it every day. Mist them every day. And no light. You will notice. I'm not talking about putting these under grow lights or even in a windowsill. They're going to stay in darkness until they germinate. They're going to be misted until they germinate. And I'm getting very serious about this because this was a question that I was asked. Please go in depth on the germinating of the seeds. So these are going to be covered, misted every day. Once they germinate, they're not going to go on under lights, depending on the seed's needs. Now, if this were a tomato plant, I would definitely make sure it was on heat. Once they germinate, off comes the burlap, and then they go under the grow lights because then they need light. Until a seed germinates, everything the seed needs, that embryo that's in the seed, has everything it needs within that seed shell. Once it germinates, though, everything changes. It has to get its food from the soil, and it has to photosynthesize sunlight. So that's the trick for big germination. Burlap. Now, here's the caveat to all that. Is that if a seed says it needs sunlight, it needs light to germinate, okay, you're not going to cover it with soil. You're not going to do anything to block the sunlight. You're going to just keep misting it, and you're going to put it under lights. So remember that. If a seed needs sunlight, like I believe wild bergamot needs sunlight, you're going to put it under lights. You're not going to cover it with anything. You're going to put it under sunlight in a nice warm spot and let that baby grow. And then mist from the top, misting so you don't push the seeds into the soil more. And then once it germinates, water from the bottom. That is, I think, all my answers to all your questions in one fun little spiel as it happens. So see, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it up on the top because there's no light up there. And then my top rack, there's no lights. It's going to get nice and warm. I'll fill up the rest of the wool pots. I'm eagerly waiting for the next shipment to cross the pond. I'm going to fill up that tray with more wool pots and more seeds and cover it up with the burlap because those need darkness. That species needs darkness. So that's the fun part. Let's see. Oh, I want to direct sow zinnia seeds and cosmos. Should I wait until? Yes. Oh, you're up in Watertown. Okay. So I'm so glad you brought up zinnias because that was the big question was, how do I feel about growing zinnias in a habitat garden? If you've been to the farm, you know I love me some zinnias. Yes. I grow zinnias, I grow cosmos, I do grow a little bit of feverfew because I use it for cut flower arrangements. I grow irises, I grow daffodils, I grow all sorts of plants, and I call them rebels. I call them rebels because they're non-invasive and I can control their spread of their seeds. So zinnias. Zinnias are a warm season annual. They're not a cool season annual like, say, bachelor buttons or snapdragons, some varieties of snapdragons. They are warm. They're like tomatoes. They need very warm soil. You can take a thermometer, stick it in the ground, see what your soil temperature is. Make sure it's over 65 degrees. They need warm nights too, so you don't want your nights going into the 50s because that will stunt their growths. So zinnias, I would sow zinnias, and zinnias are different than cosmos. Cosmos like a little bit of cool. That's why they always seem to do better in September because they like those cool, longer days. So you can sow zinnias in early May, direct sow them, or not zinnias, cosmos. You can direct sow cosmos. You're right about the first week of May up there in Watertown. You can do zinnias. I would wait until Memorial Day weekend to direct sow zinnias, depending on your frost date. Down here, our frost date is May 17th, which is my mother's birthday. So we're going to be opening hopefully that weekend, and I will be sowing hundreds of zinnia seeds. Actually, show you what I mean. Okay. Yes. This is just one bag and it is bursting with zinnias. So those will be sown on May 17th. Because if the zinnias germinate, Chantel, they will, before the last frost date, if they get hit with any cold, those babies are going to die. You can do them, sow them like a first batch, or maybe a first flush. We'll call it a first flush. Maybe the last week of April to get them a head start. But they do tend to do better when they're direct sown. So you could start a first batch in April, plant those out, transplant them out, and then like a week later, sprinkle your next flush of zinnias. And then you'll keep doing that all summer, and you'll have zinnias all right through October. That's my answer for that fun question. Anyone want peony plants? Is it possible to germinate without artificial light with heat mats? Brenda, that's a great question. Yes, it is. But again, it all comes down to what the seed of that species wants. So some plants are cool. They like cooler temperatures, so they germinate between, say, 50 and 60 degrees. I think Cyto's does that, and I struggled to learn that one, so I should know it right off the top of my head. They want cool soil temperatures, so they don't have to go onto a heat mat. But then there's others like wild bergamot, for example, that like heat. So they do better with soil temperatures that are over 60 degrees. So I would recommend for any native plant, especially, going on wildflower.org, type in the plant that you want to sow, the seed that you want to sow, see where in nature, how would nature do it, and then try to mimic that as much as possible. That's why we do cold stratification, or some species need a cold stratification following a warm summer and a cool fall, and then another warm up in the spring before they even germinate. So it really depends on the species of the seed, what the seed needs to be happy. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, and veg seeds. Oh, for vegetable seeds, again, that depends on the plant. I know squash need warm temperatures as well. Beans, warm. Tomatoes, certainly warm, because they're from the Mediterranean. Things like spinach, kale, those are, and sweet peas. Those are cool season, and actually, you could probably sow your pea seeds now, depending on what zone you're in. But for that information, I would recommend going on fruitionseeds.com. Even though they have switched how they share their seeds, they have an incredible library of information on their website. I think it's fruitionseeds.com. Absolutely wonderful wealth of information. And then I will let you know about how my seeds are doing, because I'm doing veggies. Peony plants. Brenda, we'll have to talk about peony plants. Hi, Joanne. How are you? So we are jumping into seed sowing questions. If anybody has any other seed sowing questions, just make sure you type them in. But the veg seeds, fruitionseeds.com, has a great, wonderful library on how to grow different vegetable plants. And again, it depends on the plant. So, speaking of plants, let's talk about wild bergamot, shall we? My favorite subject. Absolutely my favorite subject. While I sow, move this, because I'm, Italian by marriage, you have to do something while I'm talking. We're going to sow into these plants some sweet peas, which are also a cool season. So let's talk about Monarda really quick. On my website, in the blog, you may have seen that I have, aren't they cute? These are from Saltwater Seeds. We're doing sweet peas this year for cut flowers. April in Paris. I don't know if you can see that or not. Sweet pea, April in Paris. It's blue. Anyway, I'm going to do 2. These are going to go into a bigger block because sweet peas absolutely hate it. Any root disturbance. So into the hole they go. 1, 2, boop. we're going to talk about Monarda really quick. And I'm going to try to make this really, really quick because it's Saturday and you all have wonderful, fabulous adventures to go have, right? So Monarda, we're going to jump right in. Did you know that Monarda plants, here in New York anyway, I'm sure in other places too, because nature evolves where it is, just like we do. Monarda actually blooms in time in sync. Are you ready? Grab your tea, girls. Monarda blooms in sync with hummingbirds. How fabulous is that? It really does. So in your garden, hummingbirds, they'll be here soon. They're down in Carolinas right now. Hummingbirds, when they arrive in the spring, everyone gets crazy over those hummingbird feeders, with the red water in it and the sugar water and this and that. But hummingbirds, they don't just live off of nectar. When they arrive is breeding season, right? They're looking for nests. They're looking for mates. They are going to raise their families. So you know what hummingbirds really need in the spring when they arrive? Bugs. If you just put out sugar water in those feeders, you're only giving them a little snack. They're not getting the protein and the nutrients they need because you don't have any bugs. You've got to have bugs. Like, you want to know their favorite food in the spring? You ready for it? Gnats. Yeah, black flies. That's what they love. Oh, yeah, they can have as many as they want. And I cannot get enough hummingbirds because black flies in rural areas, they're a challenge. I'll just say that. So they eat gnats and bugs and insects because it's breeding season and they need more nutrients. They need more energy for those activities. Mm-hmm. And nature, the bergamot, the monardas, went before the hummingbirds arrive. The monardas, you'll see them. They start growing. Like like I have Eastern bee balm here, even though it's not native to New York. It's native up to Pennsylvania, and I just adore it. So I have some of that growing, especially for bouquets and stuff. But I also have wild bergamot, Monarda fistulosa. Now, those you will know the hummingbirds are on their way because they will start growing really, really fast and they will start going to bud. And that means the temperatures are right for hummingbirds to come. So those will be blooming. And guess what Monarda attracts? Little bugs, little tiny bees, little tiny gnats and things. That's what they attract because they're a perfect flower for that. So when the hummingbirds arrive, they will have food of bugs around your monardas and your other plants if you leave your leaves and all that fun stuff. Then in the summer, right after, you'll see the wild bergamot fade. And then here at the farm, because I have all of them, of course. So by June, the wild bergamot at the end of June starts to dwindle and go back. And then the scarlet bee balm takes off the first week of July, always the first week of July, depending on the weather fluctuations and heat. It takes off for maybe 5 to 6 weeks because I keep cutting it and it keeps coming back. So the hummingbirds are always around there. By July, their chicks are heading out and they switch from mostly a protein bug diet, which is 80%. Listen to me. When hummingbirds get here during breeding season, and rearing their chicks and all that, they're eating 80% of their diet is insects. No insects, no hummingbirds. Then in July, after all that hard work is done, they switch to powering up for that 1,000-mile or more migration south. That's when they need the scarlet bee balm, the spotted bee balm. And July through September, early September, is when both of those plants, first the scarlet and then scarlet or Monarda punctata, is No, wait, I have that backwards. Scarlet is Monarda didyma. If I said it wrong, I'm sorry. It's Scarlet Bee Balm, a Swigo tea. And then in September is when the spotted bee balm, sometimes called horse mint, scientific name is Monarda punctata. Yes, I love saying that. It's fun. Say it with me. Monarda punctata. Akuma matata. Anyway, I'm so silly. That's when those bloom, and they have an incredible amount of nectar in those flowers. And then once they're done, guess who's gone? The hummingbirds. So Monarda is a wonderful, wonderful plant to have in your garden. And sometimes we don't realize that there's 5 different species of Monarda that are wonderful for hummingbirds, bumblebees, native bees, all sorts of the hummingbird moths that are so cute. All those insects and birds love Monardas. But if you only have like one plant of Monarda or one species, you're not getting the full cycle. You're not getting the full picture in your habitat garden. So what I decided this week to give away, since the wool pots are stuck across the pond, I have decided to give away, checked out, and it can stand the heat here in Florida. Oh, yay, it is, Jen. So you'll see Jen in there. She's my sister down in Florida. It's sunny. She's got amaryllis growing. So jealous. Huge, beautiful, pink, gorgeous amaryllis. I will send you some seeds, Jen. Anyway, I digress into a sister chat. Sorry. So Monardas, I decided that a lot of times it's really hard to pick out what plants you want because you're on a budget. I'm on a budget. I'm on a very tight budget this year because I'm saving up for a new roof. So seeds it is for me this year. There will be no going to my favorite nurseries and my other small friends with small backyard nurseries and buying other plants. So I decided I'm going to give away, and I'm going to call it a Monarda trifecta. It's going to be wild bergamot. Actually, we'll probably add a couple more in there just for fun when you get here to pick them up. The Monarda fistulosa, wild bergamot. Yeah, it took me a minute. Got a lot in my mind. Now I'm seeing hummingbirds everywhere. Monarda didyma for the summer, the scarlet bee balm. So wild bergamot for the spring, scarlet bee balm for the summer, and spotted bee balm for the fall. And guess what? You're gonna pick them. You're gonna leave some flowers for the birds, for the hummers, but you're gonna pick some because they make great tea, delicious tea, but they also will force the plant to make more flowers. You can see my coffee's kicked in, my face is getting red. So that is the raffle on Monarda trifecta. Now, here we go. Here's the question I always get afterwards. Oh, if you put them in we'll have to talk about your shady spot. I know someone with a lot of full sun who told me a secret from Monardas. She gets full sun on her house. It's insane. And she puts an umbrella. She built them this little umbrella last year, and they did really well. So she's going to build like a little grape arbor over them so that in the summer, I think she's using cardinal scarlet runner beans. Those will shade them. So we'll have to talk about the shade later, Jen. The other thing is that I get all the time after every single Saturday, I get, how do I get my name in the bag? You got to go to my website, lazydirtflowerfarm.com. Subscribe to my newsletter, which comes out on Thursdays if the creek doesn't overflow the bank, so to speak. And then on Saturday mornings, or actually every day, I add new names to the bag. But on Saturday mornings, right up until about 11:50, I'm adding names to the bag. So website, lazydirtflowerfarm.com. You can also find out all the information about the hummingbirds and what they need to grow in your garden. And one of the things that I forgot to mention about hummingbirds, since they're coming, is something that hardly anybody does. But it's important because they need it. Sticks. I know. It's crazy. So simple. Take some sticks, stick them around in your garden, and the hummingbirds will use those as perches. They want perches. So stick some sticks. Stick some sticks for the hummingbirds. Lots of fun tricks. Oh, and didn't know it. Anyway, we're going to do this raffle. And as I say, every single Saturday. I cannot wait till my friend is here for the summer and she brings her little girl and she will be doing the raffles, which is much cuter to watch. Anyway, here we go. One name, one lucky name. Okay, who's getting the Monarda trifecta? You know, should I offer those during the summer? Let me know in the comments. Should I make like little Monarda trifectas and offer a deal to everyone who's been watching these crazy videos on Saturdays? I cannot say the name because they did not write their name on here, but I can say that it is CB. CB, you have won this week's raffle, and I will be emailing you in the next 20 minutes or so to let you know. So I'm going to put this right here where I won't lose it, right here on the laptop, and I will email them. Last week, you know who won last week? When I called them up, because they actually had they had entered the Lazy Dirt Gang, which is our newsletter. Yes, we should. Okay. Woohoo! Yes, we're going to offer the Monarda trifecta. I will send a special code to everyone because I see that you're all subscribers. Thank you for subscribing. I will send you all a very VIP deal on those just for putting up with my silly videos for 5 weeks. Actually, it's going to be 8 by the time we're done. Thanks for letting me know you want that. Yeah, send me your ideas because, you know, I'm game to try any kind of gardening thing. So that's the raffle for this week. Next week is up in the air. If the wool pots, the next shipment of wool pots gets across the pond in time, I will do the wool pot raffle finally. And that raffle is going to be for wool pots, seeds, and a couple other little surprises in there. It'll be so fun. Hi, Carolyn. Oh, you're welcome. Yes, make sure you check out the website, the blog post about hummingbirds, because it has a lot more information in it. The thing that I have to tell you on my notes, see, I followed my notes, and I see my timer's about to go off in about 5 minutes, so I'm going to rush in. So, are you ready? So, coming up next week is going to be either the wool pot raffle, or I'm going to give away another 4-week. Oh yeah, we're going to go big. If the wool pots aren't here, I'm going to go big, because the last time I gave one of these away, when I called the person, her response was, "No way." She started laughing. She's so excited. And it's so much fun to do these raffles. But I didn't know that, you never know what someone else is carrying. And I guess she had a really rough week. And finding out that she was going to get 4 weeks of beautiful flower arrangements kind of blew her socks off. So that's why we grow, people. That's why we grow. Anyway, I have decided that was so much fun, and it was so wonderful to give. And next week, if the wool pots aren't here, maybe I'll give off both. If the wool pots arrive, I'll do a double. Why not? I'm the boss. I don't have to ask anybody. So we'll do if the wool pots are here, I will do a wool pot gift basket raffle next week. And I will do a 4-week flower subscription of cottage bouquets. Now, if you have not seen my cottage bouquets, I will tell you that the goal is to make them look like they are a garden in your vase. Wild and free and all over the place. Just gorgeous creativity. Each one is different. Each one features native plants as well as a few rebels. And I will tell you that this year's will have lots of sweet peas. And those are on my website. So if you're curious about what those look like, you can find them in my shop at lazydirtflowerfarm.com. You can also find them in my stories on Instagram, where I've done some live spinning reels of their gorgeousness. A cottage bouquet is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And they're all different, and they're all just a lovely gift to get or give. I have someone who subscribed this year and has me delivering one. She's not getting any. She doesn't know this. I'm going to give her one for free. Just because she's taking all 4 of her cottage bouquets that she subscribed, and she's giving them to friends as a surprise gift. Isn't it just the sweetest thing? Just the sweetest thing. You guys are so fabulous to everyone. You're so kind, and you're growing for pollinators, and you're growing gardens wherever you are with what you have. And I'm so proud of you. You go, girls. You grow. You grow, girls. Anyway, I'm here all this week. Soil blocking, seed sowing, because like with these sweet peas, don't tell anyone. I'm 2 weeks behind. So if you're behind, don't worry about your seed sowing. It'll be fine. It'll be just fine. Don't worry. Oh, you are very welcome for the help anytime. Oh, yes. Check out the hummingbirds are just wonderful. And it was a 3-month research project, basically, because I wanted to know a lot more about hummingbirds. And I know a lot more about hummingbirds. I don't know as much as I could know, say, if I were an ornithologist. But maybe if you know an ornithologist who knows about hummingbirds, send them my way. We'll do a little workshop. Or we'll go see hummingbirds wherever they are. Anyway, they are coming, my friends. Spring is here. The daffodils out front, the lion daffodils that are out front, are popping up like crazy. They're not flowering yet, but they're here. The golden alexanders have sent up their first leaves out of the soil. The penstemons are peeking up just a little bit. I'm watching them because they are saying snow is in the forecast. I'm not coming out of bed yet. But they will be in a few short weeks. In 3 weeks, everything tomorrow is going to be different. But in 3 weeks, it's just going to be extraordinary. And I hope that you'll be able to come to the farm and check things out this year, especially in the summer. Don't forget to come see me in the summer. Oh, you are most welcome. Yes, you can still seed sow. Girls, I seed sow. I'm going to keep holding this up because I haven't dropped the bucket yet of soil. You can seed sow. Look, I sow seeds literally until August. First week of August, I stop sowing seeds. From February, a little late this year because of the knee thing, but usually in February, depending on the seed, depending on the species, I am seed sowing right up until August. And those babies go right into the ground and they overwinter. Even if they're tiny, they get the cool weather of the fall to settle in their roots. They grow wonderfully, and just wonderfully. So, Joanne, don't worry if you're behind on your seed sowing. Really, don't worry. You are most welcome, Chantel. Anytime. Pop on, send me a message anytime. Send me an email. I think we are going to have an excellent April, and we're going to have a most fun opening weekend and the early bird party. Thanks to everyone who has placed a pre-order for your plants. It has been so much fun to hear about all your gardening adventures that you're hoping for this year. And I hope that you are ready because your plants are ready. And we're going to have a great time at that VIP early bird party. I can't wait. Oh, the Meadow Project. Yes, Brenda, the Meadow Project. If you've been with me for a while here at the farm, watching me grow this thing from scratch, you know that the Meadow Project is big. I mean, it's huge. It's just, and it has, last fall, it took a huge leap forward that I wasn't even prepared for, but leap it did. And that is on the blog as well, the part 1. I'm going to do 3 parts to the blog series on the Meadow Walk, which is east of the house. And it is almost 3,000 square feet of gardening space for habitat gardens and propagating and all sorts of fun. And I'm going to share it. And I have some big plans for it this year. So you can go to my website, lazydirtflowerfarm.com, and read post number 1, part 1 in that series, which is called The Big Dig. It's called The Big Dig because that's what happened this year. I started out, hand digging it, and then it took on a whole other level. So you have to head over to the website and read that. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Head over to the website, have a good read, make a cuppa, put your feet up, and get thinking about your dreams for your garden this year. And then plan on coming by to see this thing, because this meadow project it's going to be rocking this year. It's going to be awesome. The hummingbirds are going to be really happy, and hopefully they tell Mother Nature about it and she pats me on the head. Anyway, I'm going to let you all go and have your weekend and get seed sowing. And remember, if you I haven't dropped this yet. I'm so impressed with myself. Oh, yes, I haven't dropped it. It's because I used to be a waitress in my early days. Still got it. Anyway, if you have questions about seed sowing or your garden plans, go to my website, lazydirtflowerfarm.com. I'm not going to say my phone number because it's my home number here on YouTube, but you can give me a call. You can send me an email and say, hey, Mel, you got a minute where I can ask you a couple questions? And I will try to answer as succinctly and short and concisely, without any digressions of sweet peas or hummingbirds, your seed sowing questions or gardening questions, or you can just call me up and say, hey, I'm going to put zinnias next to my purple coneflowers. What you think about that? And I'm going to say, rock on, girlfriend, rock on. Until next time, I hope that you will go to my website. If you haven't subscribed yet, go to the website, lazydirtflowerfarm.com. Sign up for the Lazy Dirt Gang, because we really are a gang of cool people, obviously, because look at you all here in my chat. Sign up for the gang, and that way you won't miss what's coming up. And what's coming up, my friends, is pretty awesome. As always, you have yourselves a wonderful weekend. I wish you much joy and lots of laughter. Cheers. Let's see if I can turn this thing off now. Have a great day, everybody. Keep laughing.